All right, we're live. Welcome to episode 56 of the Baduk Weiqi Podcast. I am Xiao Dai.
And I am Gaza.
Gaza, this week we are going to talk about the first international Lanke Cup and some Japanese domestic tournament, which is pretty shameful to mention. And there's some news from the Korean League, in particular Taiwan versus Japan, before we go to the calendar.
That's right.
That sounds about right. Big news. Now, Gaza, this is not a good week for Quzhou fans, is it? Assuming there's any of those mythical beasts left.
Wait. Let's rewind it back a bit. Before we talk about disappointments, let's talk about the excitement of the first fully face-to-face international tournament since the pandemic.
Yes. And this is the Korean contingent arriving in a hotel.
Yes, we're talking about the Quzhou-Lanke International Cup.
Yes. Now,
2023. The very first. This is a new tournament as well. It's a new international tournament. Now, when was the last time we had a new world major? I think it was the Tianfu Cup. Is that right?
Tianfu Cup, or could it be the? Could it be the Shibano Cup or XNN Cup?
Well, I think the Tianfu Cup was held in 2018.
Right. Okay.
2018. That's right. So we haven't had a new tournament for 5 years.
Yes.
5 years since the last introduction of a world major.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good. We've got a new one. Yeah. And apparently this is going to be an annual Chinese world major.
Yeah. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah. It's really good. It's really good. And yeah, like we said, completely face to face. So we're not doing the online remote games anymore.
Yep.
There have been a couple of face to face international games since the pandemic. For instance, the LG Cup final this year was face to face. But the previous rounds of the LG Cup were all remote. This is the first tournament where every round from start to final is face to face.
Yes. Yeah. This is a pretty drastic turnaround from the Chinese government on their COVID position. Like, restrictions was almost gone like overnight. That's
and
quite
how
crazy
is it? Yeah, that's right. And how crazy is it that the first fully face-to-face tournament is going to be held in the country that originally had the strictest coronavirus conditions?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. Now, Gaza, something that we talked about last week, which was that the participant list, and apparently there were quite a few changes that we didn't even notice, or I didn't even notice. Now, we noticed that in the middle of the picture over here, this handsome boy is Wang Xinghao. Apparently, originally he didn't even make the tournament. He actually took the spot of Yang Dingxin, who was banned. So
amazing.
In
fact, I do want to briefly go over not only the competitor list, but the list of players that aren't participating in this tournament.
Right. Let's do that, Gaza.
Now we have we should start off with the Chinese contingent. Now, half of the players, 15 of the 32 players in this tournament are Chinese. Now, can you list them, please?
Well, we got Quzhou.
Yes. Now, Quzhou was actually the wild card.
Yes.
In this tournament, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that he got the card. And then we got Gu Zihao. Ding Hao.
Yep.
Li Xuanhao. Tang Weixin. Xie Hao. Jiang Weijie. Tao Xingyan. Tan Xiao. That's Tao Xiaoyang, I think named. Zhao Chenyu, Li Qincheng, Lian Xiao, Li Weiqing, and Wang Xinghao. How many people have I named?
You've named 15 players there, I believe.
Right.
That's now we have a selection of world champions.
Yep.
Other very prominent Chinese players.
Yep.
Perhaps the least well known is Xiaoyang.
Yes.
But some notable omissions. Now, you mentioned Yang Dingjin.
Yeah.
He apparently he did qualify, but for those who are unaware, he is serving a 6-month suspension for accusing Li Junfu of cheating with AI.
Yes.
In the Lanke Cup in
Yes.
December.
Yeah.
And because of that suspension, he is not able to participate in this, and his spot was taken by Wang Xinghao.
Yes. Now, guys, I do want to just interject here a little bit. Now, this rules surrounding Yang Dingxin's ban sounds more and more mystifying by the day. It sounds like they're just piling on condition after condition after condition. Now we heard that Yang Dingxin was going to be able to play in the LG Cup, and that was because the ban only applied domestically. So, and then Yang Dingxin was also able to play in the Jia League postseason because apparently it doesn't apply in team-based competitions. But now he's banned in a domestic international competition. So, it's like they seems like they just make rules on the run. This Chinese Weiqi Association.
It does seem a little bit hard to follow this suspension, but what we are pretty sure about is that the suspension will be ending soon because 6 months has almost passed. So hopefully we can all put this behind us soon enough.
Yeah.
Now, another notable omission from the Chinese contingent is Mi Yuting.
Yes.
The current M Lily Cup champion, and of course, very, very strong player. Obviously, he just didn't qualify.
Right.
Now, next up, let's have a look at the Korean representation. Now, we have 8 Korean players here.
Now, we got his name shall not be mentioned, Shin Jinseo, Won Sunjin, Kang Dong-yun, Park Jun-hwan, and An Sun-jun, Myung Sang-il, and Han Seo-ju. And we
also have
Park Gwen-ho.
Yes. Park Yun-ho, that's right. Now, some notable omissions here. Shin Min-jun, quite notorious for not seeming to do well in qualifiers. From what I've been able to see anyway.
Yeah.
He was not able to qualify. Another notable omission, in my opinion, Kim Myung-hun.
Right, yeah.
Recently made the semi-final of the Samsung Cup. Very strong Korean player. I think he actually just made the top 5 in Korea. He also was unable to qualify.
Right.
Apart from that, all of these players are very strong. I believe they're all in the top 15.
Yeah.
In Korea.
Yeah.
So a fairly good contingent. Next up, we have the Japanese representation. Now, Japan has 5 players, a fairly decent-sized group for Japan in this day and age.
Yeah.
And who are those 5 players?
Well, we have the Yamayuta, Seki Kotaro. Both of them are current title holders in Japan, one of the big 7 title holders. And Ida Atsushi, Yu Jingqi, and Xu Chaoyuan.
Yes. Now, 2 notable absences from the Japanese team are Ichiriki Ryu and Shibano Toramaru. Now, those 2 players would typically just, I think, get picked straight away.
Yeah.
So it is curious as to why they're missing. And it's because, actually, there is a clash with a domestic tournament final.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, it has happened in the past historically. There tend to be clashes between in world majors and Japanese domestic title matches. And in those cases, the Japanese players that are participating in those title matches will not be participating in the world majors. And we have complained about this before. In this case, there might be a little bit of leeway because this tournament, this world major, was originally meant to be held at the end of December last year.
Right, yeah.
And so it was rescheduled. And it is possible that the domestic title in Japan either couldn't be rescheduled or they just didn't want to reschedule in the possibility that this world major was delayed again.
Yeah.
So, of course, it is still disappointing that Ichiriki Ryu and Shibano Toramaru were not able to participate, but it is what it is, and hopefully we can get a better schedule next edition.
Yes, yes. Now, next up is your 2 Taiwanese representatives.
Yep.
And they are the Xu Haohong and Lai Junfu. Now,
Yep.
guys, I've mentioned last podcast that it seems that Taiwan is a bit overweight because they are an island of 25 million people also, but they get 2 spots. And China, being the country with 1.4 billion people, only gets 15. So it definitely feels like Taiwan is overweight. But
Well, you're definitely not going to get a populational proportionate representation. Otherwise, China would have 28 or 29 of the 32 spots.
100%. But I just noticed that if I look at this list, there's actually 4 people from Taiwan participating in this competition, possibly more than any Chinese province.
Yes, of course, you're referring to Yu Jingqi and Su Xiaowan, who are both Taiwanese but are representing Japan
Japan, yes.
in this tournament. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, that's very very interesting.
Very interesting.
4
Yes,
players definitely very very overweight.
yes, you could argue that maybe Taiwan should only be getting 1 spot, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
And
let's hopefully they've at least done well.
yeah. And then we further down the list. Now this is another participant that I kind of missed because I thought the Europe representative was Pavel Lisi, if I'm not wrong. But apparently it's Ali Jabran. I can't. Maybe it's either my memories got it wrong, or they have also changed the participant last minute.
I do recall Pavel Lisi,
Yeah.
I believe, being selected for a tournament, but maybe it wasn't this one.
Right. Yeah.
I do seem to feel that you may be right about. I do recall Pavel Lissi's name being mentioned recently in regards to selection for a world major, but it may not be this tournament. It may be perhaps, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But I think again, for those who are a little bit out of the loop, I think maybe the biggest name, at least in the last 10 years for European Go, is Ilya Shikshin.
Yeah.
And he typically is the European representative in world majors. But at the current moment, Russia is banned from competing in European tournaments or from having sort of any involvement in the European Go scene, including representation at world majors.
Yeah.
Of course, Ilya Shikshin is Russian, so that certainly explains his absence. But yeah, it seems like Ali Jabaran is the representative.
Yes. And also what we have from the North America region is Alex Chi. And again, I thought they had selected someone else.
I've actually done some research here on this one, and you are correct. This is another one where a player qualified for the tournament but was replaced.
Yeah.
In this case, they did have the North America has one representative, and they did have qualifiers for that representative, and the qualifiers were won by Kevin Yang.
Right.
The new pro.
That's right.
He beat Ryan Lee in the final round of the qualifiers, and Kevin Yang was intended to represent North America in this tournament. But again, if you recall, the tournament was meant to be held in December last year.
Yeah.
And by the time it actually happened, Kevin Yang had a clash with school commitments.
Right.
If you're not aware, Kevin Yang, I believe, is 15 years old.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to attend because of school.
Right.
Although in North America, although he's a pro, he's not really a full-time in the same sense as I guess someone from China or Korea would be. In North America, I don't think you can really make a living from playing Go full-time. So yes, he still goes to school, and I'm guessing that he was unable to get out of that to attend the tournament. So he's been replaced by Alexander Chi, who turned pro in the same professional qualification tournament as Kevin Yang. Alex Chi is also very young. I believe he may be only 14.
Right, yeah.
Or possibly 15.
Yeah.
So Alex Chi is instead the representative. Big opportunity for him. He's by far the youngest player in this tournament. So, that's the list of of representatives.
Yeah.
Most of the strongest players in the world are here
Yep.
at this venue,
Yep.
trying to become the first winner of the Quzhou-Lanke International.
Yes, very, very excited. And I do believe the first stage of competition, which is kind of happening right now, will take us all the way to the semifinals, meaning that we'll, at the end of the first stage, know who the finalists are. And I believe the final will be scheduled a bit later in the same year. Now, the Quzhou-Lanke Cup is the first Chinese organized world major to be running as an annual tournament. So all the other previous tournaments run from China would be like a biannual, so meaning twice, 2 years. Every edition is run across 2 years. So Quzhou-Lanke Cup is the first one that's run annually. So that's something good to see.
Yes, and you're absolutely right about the scheduling.
Yeah.
The previous 2 days, which we as of the recording of this podcast, was the round of 32 and the round of 16.
Yep.
Today is a rest day, and then the following 2 days will be the quarterfinals and semifinals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And it looks like you've got an image on the screen here for those of us watching on YouTube. It looks like there's going to be some commentators.
Yeah, there's some commentators, and they brought out the big guns. Okay, the commentators are none other than Shaker, who is yet to play in the In Cup final. Team Hangzhou's strongest players. Of course, Team Hangzhou has Shin Jinseo, so Shaker doesn't get to play in the main player spot that often. And they're bringing out Chen Yaoye, another OG of the Chinese Weiqi scene. So big guns out to commentate.
Hey, you missed someone. There were 3 people there.
There was the lady Gao Xin. She's
yes, Gao Jing, very famous, very strong women's Go player.
Yeah.
I do want to say it must be hard for someone like She Ke, to commentate on a tournament like this, considering he didn't qualify for it. He's also another strong player.
Yeah.
Who's not participating in this. Chen Yaoye can probably doesn't mind too much because he's sort of semi-retired.
Right.
He's already achieved a lot in his career, and I think he's probably fine to let some of the younger players take the limelight now. But She Ke, I think it must be a bit. I can imagine for someone to be as competitive as these players, it must be a bit challenging to commentate on a tournament that you missed out on.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess can't change it.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're professionals.
Yeah. So they're commentating, some big guns being brought out now, and then this is the some of the pictures from the draw. Now apparently the draw was done in such a way that they brought out all the ancient Chinese poems, and Chinese poems are usually organized in verses. And I guess they just, found all the poems that they can find that references Lanke. Of course, it's the famous legend of the rotten handle of the axe. So they kind of brought out all the poems and organized them in some kind of order. And, you just pick a fan out of the list of fans. And depending on what kind of fan you got, that kind of determines your order. So that was the... so every person who, when they open their fan, will have some kind of poem verse written on it. And
that's amazing. And speaking of fans, another really strong player that didn't qualify for this tournament is Fan Tingyu.
All right, that's right.
Former In Cup champion.
Yes. Yeah. And so this is the that's the opening ceremony. Now I had a little bit of an issue with what they have showing on screen right here. Not literally what they have showing.
What's your issue, Xiao Dai? What's on the screen?
What we have on the screen here is 2 trophies. One is bigger than the other. So I imagine that the trophy is given to the winner of the Lanke Cup, and the smaller one would be the one that's given to the losing finalist. But my issue with the trophy, as nice as it's been designed, it's that it's got 2 really amateurish cartoon characters printed right in the middle of it.
It does look a little bit childlike.
Childlike, not just childlike. I mean, like, I don't know. Cartoons should look better than this. But I think maybe if I could try and describe what the trophy looks like, I'm not sure what it is. It looks like it might at the top, right? At the top might be. It looks like it's like a tree stump, and then it's got the 3 rings in the middle, and then down the middle it's like a piece of wooden thing with a cartoon character printed on it, and the cartoon character looks like a Chinese boy in ancient Chinese dress, like classical attire, and he's holding up in his left hand a black stone and in right hand a white stone. That's what it looks like to me.
You almost, I mean, if you didn't know any sort of context, you'd almost feel like this was a trophy that would be won at a children's tournament.
Exactly.
Not a world championship.
Right. Actually, I just saw the screen there. They actually described the trophy, and it's got all these fluffy languages that might as well be generated by ChatGPT or something. But supposedly the design was done by what's called a root sculpture master, and the root sculpture master is called Xu Gu Qing. So I guess what these people do is they take a tree root and they sculpt it in some kind of way. So I wouldn't be surprised if these trophies are actually unique in that they actually take an actual tree root and kind of sculpt it.
That's actually impressive then.
Yeah, that might be impressive. I personally have never heard of a profession called root sculpture master. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, in China there are people, sculpting poems onto a grain of rice, and they can fit, I think, 30,000 characters on one grain, or something like that. So
amazing, yes,
crazy stuff. So yeah, that's what this trophy is. And then of course, we have the now we have this. They always have this segment in the opening ceremony where they interview all the players. Now I don't know what's happened, but the Chinese Weiqi Association, maybe from their guilt, have decided to live stream this event. So I guess it's very rare for them to try and do something, but so they decided to live stream this event.
Oh, no kidding!
No kidding. And I tried to tune in, and I gotta say, they might as well not have have not streamed this. Because do you know what's happened in that stream? I maybe I won't be able to find any picture of that stream. I should have taken some screenshots. But basically, they placed the camera, of course, in front of the stage. But what they forgot to do was to tell all the journalists not to stand in front of the camera. So basically, for 80% of the time, I'm staring at the back of a bunch of journalists who stood in front of the camera and took pictures. And I couldn't even see the host nor the players 80% of the time. So this is how unprofessional this whole thing was done. I can't believe it.
That's very frustrating.
Yes. And if I ever dig up a screenshot of that, I might post it on the Reddit. So this is just really, really bad. And it wasn't just me. I checked on Weibo. Most of the netizens were saying the same thing. So let's put it this way. It's not a professional shot. But do you see why we see these pictures so clearly? That was because the journalists were standing right in front of the camera. I'm taking them. So yeah, and we have the famous red phone general, and this is the player drawing, and this is the the what's it called, the draw. So very nice, everybody, and then they took a group photo picture, and this player, too ashamed to show his face, was Yamayuta over here, I think.
He was adjusting his glasses at the wrong time.
Right, okay.
I guess.
Okay, all right. That's Xu Haohong, no longer looking like a stunt deer, but so that's all the most of the pictures. So and then what's going to happen is we're going to show you guys what the draw looked like. Okay, so that will
we want to see the round of 32 draw. Now, one specific rule that they have in this tournament, it's not uncommon. It's in many of the world majors.
Yeah,
2 players from the same country. From the same federation, don't play each other.
Right.
Yes.
So now let's look at the draw. Let's look at the draw now.
Yes. Let's see the first round.
Yes.
I want to see I want to know who played against each other.
All right. So maybe it's better if I kind of just go take it up. Now guess who Kerje got drawn against?
He got drawn against. Now I know this one.
Yeah.
He got drawn against a Taiwanese player.
Right.
Lai Junfu.
And Gaza, how would you describe the pre-game prediction for what's going to happen?
Now, Lai Junfu is
Yeah.
on the verge of winning the Taiwanese Mingren,
Yes, the biggest prize tournament in Taiwan.
the biggest tournament in Taiwan. Like maybe it's like the Meijin
Yes.
Of Taiwan.
Yes.
Now, despite that, I don't consider any Taiwanese player to be good enough to beat Kerje. In fact, I don't think that Kerje has ever lost to a player from Taiwan.
Right.
Ever.
Yes.
And he's played a few. He's played Zhu Haohong. He's even played Zhou Junju.
Right. Yeah.
Zhou Junzun.
Yeah.
And he's played Wang Wanjun. He's played all of them, right? And I don't think he's ever lost.
Yes.
And I didn't think Lai Junfu was going to be any match for Kerje. And you also have to remember, Kerje is on a 12-game win streak.
Yes.
He's in red-hot form.
Yeah.
So round one was going to be should have been an easy win for Kerje.
Yeah. Except it wasn't because Kerje got beaten. But let's just say Kerje was leading for a big chunk of the game, but not from the beginning. I think it was like a seesaw. But now I was watching.
That's fascinating. I would like to have a look at the Kifu, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can do that. I could just do a live download of the Kifu. Now, I was watching the live stream. I couldn't really pay attention because I have to kind of work and things like that.
Yes.
But there was a very, very, very clear moment where the commentator was like, oh, Kerje got tricked. And basically the Chinese commentary was saying, oh, what if Kerje got tricked here? What is he going to do? And that was a moment where Kerje kind of just lost his game. Now, in this game over here, Kerje is black and Lai Junfu is white. And so there's a lot of fighting. It's very precarious. But I think even though Kerje kind of came out the better over here. Now, I thought after this point, Kerje was doing quite well because if you count the number of points, Kerje is clearly ahead. There's one group here that's definitely not alive, but it's also not weak either and this group after this jump looks like such a beautiful shape, but I thought Kerje had it from this point. But now there's a lot of technical stuff over here, but Lai Junfu is very aggressive. He plays so well such that this black group and this black group are both not alive. It looks like there's one eye here for black, but imagine if white gets something like this, right? So that's a false eye. So therefore, things like this could even become sente for white later on, or because this threatens this corner group, and also this one will take away the eye. So it's actually black is actually a little bit dangerous, and Kerje knows it too. So anyway, now supposedly Lai Junfu has this style where he just goes all out aggressive, and you can see he's already putting a lot of pressure on the corner group. But this is not where the commentator says Kerje is falling behind, because up to this point, the commentator was like, oh, Kerje actually managed to deal with both groups, even though they were both in danger. And you can see things like there's possibly some kind of thing that maybe black can do here. Maybe it's a bit dangerous for white. But yeah, and then Kerje ended up cutting. But now as the game progressed, this is very interesting because I thought Kerje was for sure going to win after this point, because even though Kerje gave up this group, but if you look at this white group here, it's also dead. White group here is dead if this black group managed to live. And you would think there's no issue for this black group living, I guess. But that's when apparently Kerje just got tricked. And this was the move that tricked Kerje. Now at this point, I believe AI was saying that Kerje is leading by, I don't know, I think it's above 90-something%. And for amateurs like me, it does feel maybe natural to just play here. And that's exactly what Kerje did. But apparently this is a huge mistake because of the next move, which is here. And I think Lai Junfu just played so well. He saw this move when he did that. And so what AI recommends is that Kerje should connect here. And then there's not much that white can do. And the idea is to kind of make sure that white can't come in here and kind of basically destroy this eye in here. So you can see what happened in the game. So Kerje ended up having to kind of push through, connect here, and Kerje ended up living in Gote, but Kerje gave all of these points to White. All of these points.
But isn't that White group in the bottom right still dead?
Oh yeah, that's still dead. That's still dead. That's still
Mm.
dead because Kerje like. But I think, but before Kerje could have actually gotten more out of this. But this whole thing got sealed off by White.
Right.
If Black had just played here, and Kerje could have put up destroy more points here, and I think that ended up being the difference. So yeah, a bit unfortunate for Kerje. And the commentator was like, "Oh, what's Kerje gonna do after this?" And Kerje had no answer for it because it's just lose. Kerje is behind by too many points. So that kind of is the biggest surprise of the round. Kerje losing.
But if you actually keep on going to the game, it still ended quite incredibly. There was you can see now there's a Ko on the right.
Right.
So now White is not, Black is not necessarily alive there.
This group.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's annoying. Yeah.
It is annoying, and so they fought this Ko for a while, and now White Black starts another Ko over here.
Yeah.
On the left, sorry.
Yeah.
You can see there's a Ko on the left.
Yeah.
So just after they finish that Ko, so on the right is now a Seki, by the way.
On the right, no, it's White. White's dead.
Oh, is White dead?
Yeah, because White can't fill in.
Oh no, one eye versus no eyes.
Yeah. White's dead.
Oh my apologies. Yeah, so White is dead, but then they start a Ko on the left.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think White wins that Ko, and then they start another Ko in the bottom left corner.
Yes.
And then in this case, White White loses that Ko, but there's a big trade-off. You saw?
Yeah, Black lost all of these points as well.
Yeah, White captured a big group at the top.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, that was a good enough trade.
Yeah.
So
I just remember the commentator saying this Kerje is not going to come back from this, and they were right. And I guess this game became quite complicated, quite hard to count because there was all the trades that happened. But I think for the top pros, they knew that it wasn't going to be for Kerje, so that's actually what happened. So unfortunately for Kerje, there's always got to be a first.
Now there was a bit of comments online from fans. Of course, Kerje has a lot of Chinese fans and a lot of haters as well.
Yeah.
And I think some of them there's a bit of an overlap as well.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people commenting online, just disappointment. Not only at the result, but at Kerje. It's like another failure.
Yeah.
It's like some people have said, I've given up all hope of Kerje winning another world major. And there were some other humorous comments from some Korean fans.
Right.
Because of course, Kerje's biggest rival currently is Shin Jinseo, the best player in the world. And Shin Jinseo has actually won their last 4 games between each other.
Correct.
But in the past, it used to be very heavily one-sided in Kerje's favor. And in fact, in their lifetime head-to-head, Kerje is ahead 11 wins to 9.
Yes.
And some Korean fans, they're joking that jokingly saying that Shin Jinseo will never catch up to Kerje in their head-to-head record because Kerje keeps losing before they could meet up.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, because Kerje is so bad, Shin Jinseo can never catch up.
Yeah. Now, Gaza, it is interesting you mentioned Kerje, but I just wanted to quickly point out that there was another Chinese person who plays board games who's been in the news recently. And who might that be, Gaza? Can you have a guess?
Oh, yes. Yes, so in a different sport, chess.
Chess.
Ding Liren, Chinese player, has won the world championship for chess.
Yes. So basically, Ding Liren is now considered the world champion, even though maybe people don't consider him the best player yet. Now, just want to contrast his fortunes with Kerje's. Of course, there was some times during the tournament when Ding Liren was down against his competitor, Ian Nepomucci of Russia, but the netizens were usually very, very positive. Like just players from all over the world were sending support to Ding Liren. And I think that might have to do with the fact that Ding Liren is not such a, what do you call it, asshole.
Yes. To put it in those words, yes. Ding Liren's personality is very different to that of Kerje.
Yes. And people just tend, what I sense from all the comments is that people actually genuinely like Ding Liren. But I think the same cannot be said of Kerje.
No, Kerje, I've heard some people say,
yeah.
To put it in their words, Kerje, it makes it easy to dislike him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes. But
this
Eugene in the chat saying yes, Shin Jinseo will never get the chance to even to catch up in his head-to-head score with Kerje.
Yeah, good one. So I don't know, but Kerje it's not doing so well.
That was definitely the surprise of the round.
Right.
Although it wasn't the only surprise, but it was probably for sure the biggest one. Yeah.
Yes. Now, and then we better keep going down the list of players, and we got Tan Xiao versus Xu Chaoyuan, and Tan Xiao ended up coming out on top by 1.5 points.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Xu Chaoyuan, but it wasn't his day.
And we have Park Junhwan versus Zhao Chenyu. And
I actually wasn't. Park Junhwan, of course, is a legend in Korean Baduk. Just reached 1,000 professional wins, but I wasn't sure if he was going to beat Zhao Chenyu. Zhao Chenyu does fairly well in international majors. He's made 2 semifinals in the past.
And if I'm not wrong, they were in the same. They played each other in the recent Quzhou-Lanke Cup.
I was about to say that. I believe they did.
Yes.
I think Zhao Chenyu may have been the last Chinese player remaining.
Yes.
In that tournament, which was fairly dominated by
Koreans. Yeah.
Korean players. I'm just going to quickly check that, but
I do believe Zhao Chenyu was in the semifinal. Now I have the head.
Yes. No, you're right. He lost in the they played in the quarterfinals.
Yes. Now I had the head-to-head. Now Zhao Chenyu is apparently 3-6 versus Park Junhwan, meaning Zhao Chenyu has only won 3 games out of 9 versus Park Junhwan. So that's it. So that's But
I also believe that this was the last game to finish in the round of 32.
Right. Yep. So Park Junhwan ended up winning this one. Congrats to Park. Now then we got Gu Zihao versus Han Sunju. I don't remember what's happened in this game, but I thought the commentator says that Gu was pretty comfortable when he beat Han.
So I think so. I didn't follow this game either.
Right. And then we got Kang Dong-yun losing to Tao Xingyan. Would you say that's a surprise, Gaza?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a surprise, but Kang Dong-yun was leading early in the game.
Right.
So obviously something went wrong.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a surprise. Both players are very strong, but Kang Dong-yun has had a bit of a resurgence in the past, 12 months or so. He is a very strong player, still a very strong player.
Yeah.
He also just recently reached 1,000 professional wins.
Yeah, very nice.
So maybe a slight upset, but Tao Jinren is, of course, a very capable player himself.
Yes. And their record before this was 1-1, so it's not that big of a surprise. Now to the next one, which is Yu Zhengqi versus An Sunjun. If I'm not wrong, I did have a glance at the win rate at some point during the game, and I thought Yu Zhengqi was leading.
He was
by a lot, possibly.
I don't. I'm quickly trying to find the game, but he was certainly leading.
Yeah.
Who was black, by the way?
It was
An Sunjun was black.
Yeah.
Yes, he was heavily leading. He was at 98%.
Yes.
I can see here. So
something like that. So and then he still ended up losing. I think the Korean players, especially when he gets to Boyomi, it's just so much stronger. They seem to just know what to do.
Well, they just don't quit. Yeah. They do not quit.
Yes. And then we have Li Shunhao versus Won Sunjin. not really a surprise to me because Li Chunhao is ranked number 2 in China. He beat Wang Songjin
Yes,
there.
it wasn't a fully clean win. Wang Songjin did have chances, but
Yeah.
oh no, it was a fairly comprehensive win. I'm looking at the game now. It was a fairly solid win for Li Junhao.
Yes. And then we have the Lin Xiao versus Seki Kotaro. I really wasn't expecting Seki to do anything. So yeah, wow.
Well, I'm okay. Let me just quickly have a look at this one as well, because I do think that Seki Kataro as well may have had some chances. No. It was a good game by Lian Zhao.
Yeah. And actually, guys, I forgot to ask, but do you remember what was Lai Junfu's record in the Korean League?
Yes, I do know his record in the Korean League. He hasn't won a single game.
Wow. And then now he comes to beat Kerje.
And now he beats Kerje.
Yeah,
yes.
Wow. What can you say?
Wait, let me just quickly check. I'm quickly checking now. 0 wins, 4 losses in the Korean League. Yes.
Yeah. And then we got Shin Jinseo versus Li Qingchen. Now, based on my data, it looked like Li Qingchen just had not much of a chance there.
It was a very impressive. It was a typical game by Shin Jinseo.
Yeah. And then you got Ding Hao taking on Xu Haohong, and Xu wasn't able to make it 2 out of 2 for Taiwan, losing to Ding Hao. Again, not that big of a surprise. And then you got Li Weiqing taking on Alexander Chi. Now, I do remember glancing at the Kifu at various points. It did feel like the Li Weiqing was just toying with Alex. He's kind of making Alex have bad shapes everywhere. And even though it looks like a local area was settled, Li Weiqing still comes in to play some moves, forcing Alex to respond, and then playing away right away immediately after he's gained that little bit of an edge locally. So it was probably more a teaching game for Alex. I'm sorry I have to say that.
It did feel like a teaching game, yeah. The gap between Alexander Chi and the best players in the world is noticeable, but fair play to him.
Yeah.
It's not like he didn't embarrass himself.
No, I think
and hopefully he can learn from this, and hopefully we will see him and Kevin Yang in future world majors.
Yes. So really looking forward to that. And then we got Zhang Weijie beating Ali Jabran. Again, not really a surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise, no.
Now, the next one is a cracker because it's Xia Hao versus Yamayuta. Now, they have a history, haven't they?
They do have a history. In fact, I think the only time they've played 3 games in the past, and all 3 of those games were the LG Cup final.
Right. Crazy.
In 2018.
Crazy.
And in that was the last time a Japanese player made the final of a world major.
Yeah.
And in that final, Xia Hao prevailed.
Yes.
Beat Yamayuta 2-1.
Yeah.
This is, of course, their first time they've played each other since that.
Yeah. And I do believe Yama went all the way to 98%.
Yama was leading by a lot, and I remember I was looking at the games like early in the day, like after a couple of hours, and then I had to do I had some errands to run, and then I came back and I can see which games are still going, but I can't see the results of all the finished games. So I can see that Iyama's game is finished, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so Iyama must have won, and then later on, like even later, I finally am able to get the result of Iyama's game, and I found out that he's lost. And I'm like, what's going on? And I contact a friend of mine, who is like really, really strong Go player, like unbelievably strong, and he goes, I can't understand it either. Like, how did he lose? But by the way, Xia Hao won. Xia Hao won this game. Iyama lost, but he should have won. something went wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
yeah.
now Yama has recently started a Twitter account, an official one. I believe it to be his genuine Twitter account. So he wrote on the Twitter and says he felt that he was leading for much of the game, but he ended up losing. So he felt that he has much work to do. Uh, and also it makes it that much more bitter losing to Xiao again. So oh well, that's all
I
I
have
can.
to say,
Yeah.
of all the social media platforms to create an account, Twitter is probably the least appropriate in 2023.
And do you care to explain why?
Well, I mean, considering the new ownership,
Right, right,
uh,
right, right.
and the state of Twitter
Yeah.
since then, it seems like it's a platform that's going down the drain.
Wow. So I hope Blue Sky approves Yama Yuta's application soon. So we got the next is Park Geun-ho versus Chao Xiaoyang. Park Geun-ho, even though he's no longer in the top 10 in Korea, still proved to be too good for the young Chao. So there we go.
Chao Jiayang was most certainly, you would almost objectively the weakest
Right.
Chinese player
Sure.
in the field.
Yeah.
So this one was definitely hard to predict. Park Geun-ho, while he is a top 15 player, he's also not too experienced at world majors.
Yeah.
So, and Chao Jiayang, I really didn't know anything about him. So,
yeah,
it was, of course, like Chao Jiayang it wouldn't be in the top 15 in China.
No.
But that doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to beat Park Geun-ho. China has the most depth of any country.
Sure. Yeah.
In Go.
Yeah.
It was a hard one to call, but in the end, Park Geun-ho prevailed. So good to him. Hopefully, he takes this opportunity now that he's in the final 16.
Yeah, exactly. As now, next is Byung Sang-yeol beating Tang Wei-shin. Now, I was following Tang's Weibo before the games, and guess what he was asking? The first Weibo that I saw about him talking about Quzhou was, where can I find good food near the Quzhou Qiyuan? And I'm not sure if people should be surprised when they see his picture, but that's kind of literally what he asked. So I hope he found his good food, but he probably needed some comfort food after that lost.
Well, he's got more time to find good food now.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to ask on Weibo anymore. He can just wander around the streets because he's got a little free time on his hands now.
But a good win by Byung Sang-yeol. Tang Wei-shin.
Yeah.
Remember, he's still a beast in world tournament, in international tournaments. So,
well, he's in the final of one, so I guess he's not too bad. And then we have the last but not least, Ida Asushi versus Wang Xinghao. And if I'm not wrong, Ida was actually doing quite okay during part of the game, but Wang Xinghao, being the new gen, the new hope from China, just proved too strong in the end. So Wang Xinghao progressed. So that's the round of 32.
Now, can we just give just a bit of a summary here?
Yeah.
We had 5 Japanese participants, 5 Japanese representatives, and they all lost.
Yes.
In the first round.
Yeah. Neither of the European and or Europe or North America candidates survived either.
Yes, I mean that was certainly to be expected. Objectively speaking, the Europe and North America candidates were the weakest players in this tournament.
Yes, yes.
It's understandable that they're going to have difficulty. But we had 5 very strong Japanese players. 2 of them are current domestic champions. 2 of them are former domestic champions. And yet none of them got past the first round. And if you remember, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Japan was considered the powerhouse of Go.
Yeah.
And then 17 years ago, or 18 years ago maybe, was the last time they even won a world title.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been, disaster after disaster. But even back then, I don't recall how many times they had no players get past the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just another disappointing. Like you can't do any worse than having 0 wins.
Yeah.
So it's just another disappointing outing for Japan, and yeah, it's just really it's really tough to see. It's really tough to see, even if you don't like the Japanese players. Like if you think some of the players are overrated or something because they're winning all these domestic titles and not doing well internationally, it's still, you still have to be a bit concerned at Japanese performances, and it feels like it's just, it's they've got to do something to improve their record.
Yeah. Now, Gaza, now you said you are concerned about Japan, but someone's very concerned about the performance of Europe, and this is let me show you a tweet, not a tweet, but a post on Wikipedia, or not on Wikipedia. What am I talking about? On WhatsApp platform called Facebook. Young people wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
Facebook, yes.
Yeah, but Facebook was kind of a thing, in the past. And this is a post that I found on Facebook by no other than Alexander Deneshchin. He was the first, I believe, Russian pro. He made pro in Korea.
He did make pro in Korea. Yes.
And look at his comment. He says Ali Jabrin versus Zhang Weijie, first Quzhou-Lanke Cup in China. You will not find any news from the tournament on the EGF website. EGF, of course, is the European Go Federation, and EGF social networks. There's no streaming on EGF's Twitch either. Is it normal? And then we ask why the popularity of Go in Europe is declining. So
Good question.
I don't know if it's the chicken came first or the egg, but I do know that it's probably a good idea to cover international, European players participating in international competitions. So I don't know what's happened there.
When at Ilya Shikshin's last World Major, I can't remember if it was the LG Cup or the Chunlan Cup, but I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
And it was the last one he was able to participate in.
Yeah.
The Russian Go Federation live streamed his game on YouTube.
Yeah.
Not the EGF. It was the Russian Go Federation. And we've discussed the EGF before. Even the I believe, was it the pro qualifier was like they just it's not on. There's no YouTube live streams.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the work of volunteers,
right?
Almost,
yeah.
Just enthusiasts, like us, maybe. Covering the games on OGS, relaying the games.
Yeah.
By the way, a big thank you to those volunteers, like to those people that do end up relaying the games. But I think what Dinnerstein is saying is that it would be good if the EGF. Did have some sort of more
coverage,
an easier to find way to do these live streams. It's quite possible that they do have live streams of these tournaments, and I'm just not aware of them.
Yeah.
I don't want to accuse them of not having them.
Yeah.
If Alexander Dinnerstein is having difficulty finding EGF information about this stuff, then you can imagine that other people would as well. And I think it is really cool, even if they're not expected to win, even if Ali Jabarin is not expected to win, it is still quite a memorable thing to play a game against one of the best players in the world. And the EGF should be celebrating that.
And God knows what can happen. You remember, Ilya Shikshin beating Ying Tao. So things can happen. But Gather, putting that aside, let's look at the draw for round 2. Of course, as you mentioned, they kind of redraw it every round.
That's right. They do
because they don't want to pair players from the same country together.
Yes, but in this case, so yes, they do a redraw. Um, they want to avoid having players from the same federation play against each other. However, in this case, we have 10 Chinese players, one Taiwanese player,
Yeah.
and 5 Korean players. So instead, now, of course, there are only 8 games.
Yeah.
So what they do is instead of, they just try to minimize the number of games with players from the same federation. So there's going to be 2 games that are China versus China.
Yeah.
But then the other games will all be the 2 players will be from different federations, yes. But it's always done to minimize that.
Yeah. And this is the draw for the second round. We have Li Chuanhao versus Lian Xiao.
Yes, this is will be a good one. Mm-hmm.
Now, before the game, it was Lian Xiao was actually leading the head-to-head 6-2, but even though Li Chuanhao is ranked number 2 in China. Now,
but that's because Li Junfu has recently risen up to number 2 in China.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I was going to say about Lian Xiao was that in a lot of Chinese media, he's often referred to as an expert versus domestic players, but quite an amateurish when he's facing foreign players. So, and
Lian Zhao is one of those. It seems like the Chinese players seem to, in general, the Chinese players seem to do better in international tournaments than domestic tournaments.
right.
You have players like Jia Hao and Deng Yifei, who have won world majors, and I believe in both of those cases, their first ever title in any professional Go competition was a world major.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got just so many Chinese players like Gu Zihao, for instance, also Ding Hao now, Tan Zhao, Zhang Weijie. They've all won world majors. All the Chinese players, a lot of them seem to have won a world major. But Lian Zhao, although he's won many, many domestic titles, he actually has only ever made one semi-final.
Right.
In a world major.
Yeah.
It is. He seems to be the exception among Chinese players in that he doesn't seem to generally do well in world majors. Of course, making a semi-final is good, but he's participated in many world majors and he's only made one semi-final.
Yes.
So it is. I think your description of him as an expert against domestic players, but weaker against international players is apt.
Yes. No, I can't agree more. I mean, backed up by data. I can't argue with data. And then the next up we have Tao Xingyan versus An Sunjun. Actually, I forgot to mention the results. Now, Lian Xiao actually did beat Li Chuanhao, so there's this.
This was a bit of an upset as well. Yeah,
a little bit of an upset. Yes, about 6-4 before the game.
Yes, but, people were mentioning a lot of the attention in this tournament was not only on how well is Ke going to do, but also who can stop Shin Jinseo.
Wow, yeah.
Because Shin Jinseo is just that highly regarded, especially among the Chinese fans. Yeah. And of course, Shin Jinseo, not only is a strong player, but he's actually even for him, he's in really good form at the moment.
Yeah.
Coming into this tournament, he'd won his last 25 games. He was on a 25-game win streak.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
And a lot of comments that I saw on the Reddit after Ke lost was, well, who's going to stop Shin Jinseo now?
God,
and people, and one of the names that I think people were considering was Li Junfu.
Yeah.
I think Li Junfu did eliminate Shin Jinseo in the Chunlian Cup, but now Li Junfu is gone.
Yeah, gone. What can you say? Thanks again, Lian Xiao. So, what's next is that apologies. Tao Xingyan versus An Sunjun. And maybe this is actually an upset, but because An Sunjun did overcome Tao Xingyan and progress even further into the tournament.
I have to say, Tao Xingyan is another one of the very strong Chinese players that hasn't actually yet won a world major.
That's right, yeah.
He was one of the I think he was one of the earliest players to become 9-dan through the new Chinese promotion system.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So maybe it wasn't maybe not a bit of an upset, but An Sung-jun, I think I am surprised to see him in a quarterfinal. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, it is what it is. I guess it's
Yeah.
not that big of a setup. He did have a more than a third of a chance of winning according to my model.
Yes.
Now next up is maybe a very evenly matched game. Wang Xinghao, the rising star from China, versus Byung Sang-il. Now, I just want to quickly show you the ratings of Wang Xinghao. Now, actually, surprisingly, if you look at where Wang Xinghao is ranked on some of these ratings, he's actually ranked as high as 6th.
This is not on Go ratings,
Now,
by the way.
let's check where he's on Go rating. He's ranked as high as 5th on Go ratings.
Oh my God, 5th.
So what we're talking about here is, two different ratings consistently rating Wang Xinghao easily in the top 10. Now, you can't argue with data. You can't argue with data science. I just put the word science at the end just to make it sound more credible, but you can't argue with data.
And I just want to remind everyone that we've been talking up Wang Xinghao since maybe the very first podcast.
Yeah.
So for all those saying now Wang Xinghao top 5 on Go ratings,
Yeah.
just remember that we knew he was good.
Yeah, we knew.
Yes.
So Wang Xinghao is definitely the rising star. Now, actually, guys, I do want to quickly point out something called which is this column at the end of the table. Now, this column is mysteriously named NOYIS. Do you want to have a guess at what that means?
No, I don't want to have a guess. I've got no idea.
Okay. Now, you see that this label is only attached next to Shin Jinseo, and then to Ding Hao.
Yeah.
And then the third player to receive this is Wang Xinghao. And NOYIS stands for no one younger is stronger. Okay. So, like, if you look at the Shin Jinseo's date of birth, 2000 March 17th. I'm reading out the dates in a computer way. Not if I'm American, I'd be going March 17, 2000. So no one younger than this age is stronger than Shin Jinseo. Obviously, I mean, because he's number one, nothing like that can happen. And then if you look at Ding Hao, he's just born 3 months younger. Okay, so he's just 3 months younger than Shin Jinseo, so he still gets the label no one younger is stronger. Although this one is maybe a bit iffy because they are only 3 months apart, but it's still technically true. So the next one to get this label is Wang Xinghao. No one younger is stronger. So Wang Xinghao is ranked 6th. Mm-hmm. No one younger than 2004, February the 2nd, is stronger than Wang Xinghao. So, basically, Wang Xinghao is as good as it gets when it comes to rising stars, because at his age, no one is stronger than him.
He's the best.
He's the best.
He's the best 19 or younger player, 19-year-old or younger. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb here. He might even be the next world number 1. Big call.
Might be.
Mm. Okay, so after thumping our chests for quite a bit, of course, Wang Xinghao did beat Byung Sang-il, but I can't remember how the game went. I'm not sure if you have any comments to make about the game.
I wasn't able to watch any of the round of 16 because I was actually attending a Go tournament.
Oh yes, very nice. Yeah. Hopefully, you were channeling some Wang Xinghao.
I wasn't playing.
Okay, cool.
It was a seniors tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm looking at the game here. Wang Xinghao had a very solid win.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. And then we got Gu Zhihao playing Park Junhwan.
No, we have
we've got Li Weiqi
mm-hmm.
Playing Jiang Weijie. I do believe that Li Weiqi had won this game.
I do also believe that this was a half-point win.
Right.
And it was the last game to finish.
Oh, wow. Very close then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Li Weiqi, again, another very, very young player. And then we got Gu Zihao beating Park Junhwan. So I was listening to the commentary, and the commentary was basically saying Gu Zihao's style is naturally gonna be or what do you say? It's naturally designed for Park Junhwan. So apparently Park Junhwan hasn't had good results, but when he's playing Gu Zihao. But interestingly, that isn't actually supported by data because Park Junhwan is leading 8-5 versus Gu Zihao. So, hey, whatever the theory is, Gu Zihao won this one.
It sounds like they came up with that argument after Gu Zihao had already won.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, and then we got Xie Hao playing Park Wen-ho. I don't know. I consider this to be a bit of an upset because Park Wen-ho actually won and progressed further.
I don't think it's an upset. Again, I think these are two evenly matched players. Xie Hao he's a strong player, but he's not. Like I said, he's not. I don't think he's top 10 in China. He's still a strong player, but Park Yun-ho is also a strong player.
If I'm not wrong, I think
it could have gone either way.
Yeah. I was going to say, if I'm not wrong, Xie Hao was in the top 10 in China recently.
Oh, is it? Oh, recently?
Might have.
Oh, well, my mistake then. Okay, well.
I can't remember for sure, but yeah.
In any case, well done to Park Yun-ho. He had a solid win.
Solid win.
This game. Very solid win. Yeah.
So we got two maybe surprising Korean players in the quarterfinal already. One is An Sun-jun and Park Wen-ho.
Yes, while Park Jun-hwan and Byun Sang-il lost. Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting. And then we got Tan Xiao beating Lai Junfu. I guess Lai wasn't really, going to progress that much further after his.
No, he certainly had a chance. I think Tan Xiao was certainly a beatable opponent, but Tan Xiao played well. And so that means that Taiwan is now eliminated from the tournament.
Yes.
But that's only 7 results, Xiao Dai. What was the last matchup?
Well, the last one was Shin Jinseo versus Ding Hao.
So the best player in the world versus another player who is stronger than everyone younger than him.
Yeah, and the last World Major winner was actually Ding Hao.
Yes.
He won the LG Cup, of course.
This year.
So people were having huge hopes that maybe Ding Hao can stop Shin Jinseo.
Yes, people were saying that apparently some Korean fans were saying that this could be Shin Jinseo's most difficult matchup of the entire tournament.
Yes.
And yes, people were one of my good friends.
Yeah.
I spoke to him, and he was a little nervous. He's very optimistic on Shin Jinseo every game, but even this time, he was a little bit nervous.
And I guess they didn't really need to because I read the commentary. I looked at some of the commentary, and it basically said Ding Hao played almost no bad moves. Maybe 1 or 2 moves here and there is a bit slow, but Ding Hao had not played a clearly bad move in that game. But Shin Jinseo just managed to lead from the beginning to end. Didn't really have any trouble. So that's another win for Shin Jinseo and crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's Shin Jinseo just dominated. He dominated just like he dominated against Li Qingcheng in the round of 32. He looks very difficult to beat, and that's now 27 wins in a row for Shin Jinseo in all competition.
Yep. Now speaking of Shin Jinseo, he did turn up on the Chinese live stream. If you remember the commentating team was Xie Ke and Gao Xing. I guess Chen Yaoye will turn up for the quarterfinals and semifinals. But Shin Jinseo turned up in the Chinese stream, and I was surprised to learn that Shin Jinseo introduced himself in Chinese. So he probably spoke a little bit of Chinese.
Now, someone actually sent me this. Yeah, someone actually sent me this video.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I was a little bit unsure as to when this video was made because, and the reason I say that is because Shin Jinseo and Xie Ke are actually in the same team.
Yes.
in the JAR League, and that team actually had official commentators
Sure. Yeah.
for the JAR League, and one of those commentators was Gao Jing.
Yeah.
Like she was the commentator for Team Hangzhou.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So I was wondering if this was taken during the JAR League.
Yeah. Well, Gaza, that has no truth in it because look at the two dolls over here.
Ah, yes,
They are the what they call mascots of the Quzhou-Lanke Cup.
Yes.
The kind of the ones that were printed on that trophy, on those trophies, and
Yes.
yeah, I think this was definitely new, because they were doing this in person. Now, and after speaking in Chinese, and Shin Jinseo reverted to Korean, and there was a Korean interpreter off screen feeding him questions. One of the question was from the audience was, how confident are you of making the final? And Shin Jinseo said, I think maybe 50-50. And then Gao Xing was gushing like, oh, that's so humble of you. And and this is, and like think about this. Like if there's 32 players in the field and you say 50-50, that's a lot higher than 1 out of 32. If there was
was this before the round one?
Yeah, no. Well, even if it was, if there's 16 players there, 50-50 is a lot higher than 1 out of 16. So I guess I'm not sure if it's just being humble or just maybe Shin Jinseo just maybe underestimating a little bit about his chances. But 50-50, that's still a pretty confident call, I would say.
But he doesn't seem like the type of person that will say, "Oh, I've got a 90% chance of making the final."
Yeah.
Because you don't want the reaction from people when in case you lose.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what happens to Kerr.
Yeah, well, now just Koji for your prime example.
Yeah,
now,
but Shin Jinseo is fairly humble. I think he doesn't really care. He doesn't really care about these sorts of questions. Like to him, I think these sorts of questions are just a little bit pointless. He just wants to talk about Go. He just thinks about Baduk all the time. Everything Baduk.
Yeah.
Wake up Baduk. Breakfast Baduk.
Yeah.
Breathing Baduk.
Yeah. And we just have to be now. There's a super fan of Shin Jinseo in China. She's been going to the location where this is played. And apparently she's been talking to Shin Jinseo a lot, or trying to. And she's posted quite a few pictures of her, posing with various pro players. And she was absolutely gushing about Shin Jinseo. Absolutely gushing. She was like, oh, Shin Jinseo, his manners is so great. He's so polite. He's doing everything right. I can't believe he even, shook my hand and all of that stuff. And there's some videos of.
Well, he shook her hand. Unbelievable! What a legend, Shin Jinseo.
Unbelievable. And she was like, now I really wanted to get this. I don't know what this is called. This is like a show bag with Shin Jinseo, a badge of Shin Jinseo over here playing Baduk. But so this is a fan. I think she even put a cat over her face so we can't see how.
Okay, that's fair.
She was taking pictures with the various pro players.
Oh, jealous,
and that's one of her trophies. She's got all the top pros to sign her fan. And,
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Very jealous. So she's definitely a super fan. I'm dying to get one of these.
Yeah.
If I can. I'm not sure if I can even get my hands on it. This is so cute.
It's gonna be difficult.
Difficult. But but she was absolutely gushing about how handsome Shin Jinseo is, how well mannered he is. And I bet Shin Jinseo's got a huge amount of fans in China. So
yes, and I think most of those fans are because of just he's such a good player.
Yeah.
But I've seen him in interviews, and they do the fun things on Baduk TV with him, and he seems like a very just a normal person. Like he's like has normal interactions. He just seems like a very ordinary outside of being a genius of Baduk. You see players like Lee Chang-ho, and Lee Chang-ho is obviously a genius, but he's a very
reserved.
very reserved, very not good at interactions with others. Like keeps to himself. I'm not sure the right words, but seems quite awkward in public. Whereas Shin Jinseo seems like just a normal, ordinary person.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to criticize either of them, but I can understand why he has so many fans. Of course, he has fans in this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I better do my best to translate how much gushing this fan is doing. Okay, so this is what the fan said. Is that little Shin? So little Shin is not meaning that he's like a child, but big Shin is Shin Minjun. So small Shin or little Shin is Shin Jinseo because it's younger. So it's in China. If you in the Weiqi circle anyway, if you call little Shin, people know who you're talking about. So he said little Shin is so good to what degree? He said when we are doing the photo together, he let me do a heart shape, finger shape. And this is what happened.
Oh, look, heart shape.
Oh, this is what happened. This is why she's such a fan. And she says it's because it's very popular in Korea right now. And he's like, she's been emphasizing this time and again. Little Shin, he doesn't actually look good in photos. He's really much more handsome in real person. Is what she said. Okay, and that when he comes out of the playing area, it looks like he's what was it? How to translate this? Looks like he's just is it called sparkling or just lights coming out of his body? It's like. I can't
radiating,
or there's an aura, something like that.
Yeah.
This is not an exaggeration. And another guy in the playing area also comments how young and handsome he is as a man. So and this is the fan, posing with Shin Jinseo with the show bag and doing this heart shape thing. I think Hugh Seo-hyun might want to have a word with Shin Jinseo after this, but let's see. So there's some huge fans of Shin Jinseo there in China. Lucky fan over there, I have to say. I would have done that if I had met Shin Jinseo. Maybe if I do meet him, that's the post I will request of him, and I'll see how he reacts to that one. So Gaza, that covers the second round. So we're up to the quarterfinals, and the quarterfinal draws are also out.
Yes, now the quarterfinals are going to be played tomorrow. That is Monday,
yes,
as of this recording.
Yeah.
Today, Sunday is a rest day.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the quarterfinal matchups.
Yeah.
Now, we do have 5 Chinese players and 3 Korean players. So there is going to be one all-China final.
Yeah.
And one all-China quarterfinal and 3 Korea versus China quarterfinals.
Yes. Now, this is the picture of the lineup after the draw. So what we have over here is Lin Xiao versus Tan Xiao, the battle of the
Zhaos.
Yeah. I hope one of them shall die.
Now, I think I predict Lian Zhao to prevail in that one and to make his second ever semi-final in a world major.
Wow, big call. I guess on balance, that's a more likely outcome because Lin Xiao is considered a stronger player than Tan Xiao now. Of course, Tan Xiao is no slouch still. And then we got Gu Zihao versus, I believe this is An Sung-jun.
That is An Sung-jun, yes. Now, An Sung-jun has made one semi-final in the past, just like Lian Zhao.
Yes.
So, who knows? But Gu Zihao is certainly the favorite. Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%. And then we have Li Weiqi hoping to repeat his Jalik heroics versus Shin Jinseo, and because that's his opponent, Shin Jinseo versus
Shin Jinseo versus Li Weiqi. Let's see if Li Weiqi can stop Shin Jinseo from getting 28 straight wins.
Oh wow, that would be a big call. And
in all competition.
The 2 players that are the closest together, but also the furthest apart for some reason. I don't know who's trying to get away from who, but we have Park Geun-ho versus Wang Xinghao. Wang
Xinghao is the youngest player remaining in this tournament, and Park Geun-ho
Yeah.
I believe he may have recently.
Mm.
You say he left the top 10
Yeah.
in Korea.
Yeah.
Has he re-emerged into the top 10? No, he hasn't. He is still 11th, right?
Yes. He's not
So,
in the latest top 10. Yeah. No.
but let's see if he can. Now, I don't think Park Yun-ho has made a semi-final. No, Park Yun-ho has not made a semi-final in a world major before, and Wang Xinghao has never even played in a world major before.
No.
So, can you imagine making a semi-final in your first ever world major?
I can imagine making the final and almost winning it. Han San-hyun, for example. But hey,
But
rare.
I think this just demonstrates just how delayed Wang Junhao's debut was in a world major. He's been very deserving of participation in a world major for at least a year now.
Yeah.
And finally, he gets this opportunity, and he's taken it
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah. I believe later on in the year, he's also getting another opportunity. If I'm not wrong, he made the LG Cup, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's right. He is participating in the LG Cup as well. And that one he actually qualified for legitimately.
Yeah, legitimately. So this is the lineup. Very looking forward to it. That will be happening, I believe, tomorrow.
And then the semi-final will be on Tuesday, the next day.
Yeah, and then as we mentioned, once that's done, we'll know the final will start, and that will be the final will be played another time. So very much the competition I look forward to, and this is gonna be such a great tournament.
Yes.
Okay, so Gaza, before we talk about the Japanese domestic, I thought we would be good to kind of slot in a discussion of the Korean ranking, the most recent one, the top 10. So surprise, Shin Jinseo is still number 1.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I don't know how that's happening.
I think that's 40. Is that 41 months now? 41 months in a row.
Yeah, it says 41 months in a row. And then we got Park Jun-hwan and Bang Sang-il taking second and third spot as per usual. And then we got Shin Min-jun on 4th. Kim Min-hyun, as you mentioned, now on 5th. Kang Dong-gyun 6th. An Sun-jun, possible semi-finalist, and 7th in Korea. Won Son-jin, and then Kim Ji-sok and Hong Sung-ji ran out the top 10. So Hong Sung-jin was like a recent re-entrant into the top 10. He might have been top 10 in the past.
Yes, he's one of the more elder players.
Right.
Among here, yes.
Yeah.
The noticeable disappearance from the top 10 is Lee Dong-hoon.
Yeah.
And that's because he has been inactive for 12 months. And if you're inactive for 12 months, you leave, you get removed from the rankings. And we all know that Lee Dong-hoon retired last year, but he still kept appearing on the rankings. And yes, it's just basically been made formal now. His removal has been formal. So now I guess the appropriate rankings, the rankings are as appropriate as they are because Lee Dong-hoon wasn't playing for the last 12 months.
Yeah, sure.
So
Lee Dong-hoon definitely is the notable exception, notable kind of I guess drop out for the ranking. In terms of women players, we got Choi Jong at 21.
Yes, Choi Jong. She actually improved a spot. If you remember, she dropped down to number 22.
Yeah.
In the previous ranking, so she actually improved a little bit to 21. Of course, she used to be as high as 13. So she definitely will be, trying to get back to that sort of level.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to take maybe a bit of time. Yes.
Yep. And the prodigy Kim Eun-ji is in the top 100, but at 73. So
yes, that's a new career high for her, 73.
Yep.
That makes her the number 3 women's player in Korea as well. Kim Chae-young is at 68.
Yep.
So Kim Eun-ji is still number 3 among Korean women, but 73 is a career high for her. She jumped a lot of spots this month.
Yeah, so more to look forward to. So that's the Korean ranking, and you guessed it, Gaza. The Chinese ranking hasn't been released. But I guess I mean you can't ask for too much from China. So let's quickly look at the Japanese domestic. The reason, also known as the reason why Shibano and Ichiriki are not in the Lanke Cup. So, and what's happened here, Gaza?
This is the Teikei, the Teikei Cup. Yeah, I think this is a tournament for under 25s.
Yep.
Is that right? Yes. It's a tournament for under 25s. The other restriction is that if you've won it before, you can't appear in the next one or something like that. So Shushawan actually won the previous edition, which was the original edition of the Teikei Cup.
Yeah.
So he wasn't allowed to participate in this one.
Right.
And that made it possible for him to compete in the Quzhou-Lanke Cup as well.
Yeah.
But the final was, of course, unsurprisingly contested by the two best under 25 players in Japan, that being Ichiriki Ryu and Shibano Toramaru. They both easily qualified for the final without losing a game.
Yep.
And the final was played on... So the first game was actually played on the 1st of April. And I think I'm not sure if we even saw it. I'm not sure if I even remember commentating on that because it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And Ichiriki won that one. And the second game was played yesterday. So the second game was played at the same time as the round of 16 in the Quzhou-Lanke Cup. And that is why these two players were not in the Quzhou-Lanke Cup.
Yeah. So, Gaza, let me get this straight. So there was an opportunity for both of these players to play in an international tournament, but they decided not to play in the international tournament, but to play in a domestic tournament that's age restricted, and also one where if you win it, you won't be able to participate again.
That is correct. Yes.
Very nice. Okay, well, I don't know what to say anymore. So I think I'm more inclined to move on and look at how Japan's done in the Korean League. Shall we do that, Gaza?
No, I think we should commentate on who won the second game.
Yes. To be honest, for a moment, I thought I didn't care, but apparently Ichiriki won the whole series 2-0. So I guess the silver lining in this is that Ichiriki won't be missing any international tournament due to this tournament from next year onwards.
That's right. And interestingly enough for Shibano, he made the final last edition.
Yeah.
And he also lost 2-0 to Sushawan.
Yeah.
So this time he lost again to Ichiriki. Next year, Shibano will be able to play, and Ichiriki won't be able to play. And I don't think Sushawan will be able to play either because he'll be too old by then.
Right. I thought you can only win it once.
I'm not sure. The rules say the winner can't participate in the next season.
Right.
So I'm not sure if they're not if they're only can't come back the next year or if they can't come back ever again.
Oh, right.
But even if he could come back, Sushawan would be too old, I believe. So.
Oh wow.
So Shibano's got it's basically Shibano's got less competition next year, but there'll still be strong players. There'll be Fukuoka Kataro, Seki Kataro.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be other players. Asami, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. I guess it's gonna happen again. And so Gaza, maybe it is time to talk about the Korean League or something really specific about the Korean League.
Well, the Korean League has sort of taken a little bit of a break this week. We don't have a live stream for you this week because of the Quzhou-Lanke Cup.
Yep.
So there hasn't been any games this week, but there was a game last week that happened after the last podcast.
Right.
And it was perhaps the most anticipated game, Team Taiwan versus Team Japan.
Yeah.
So this was the only matchup between Taiwan and Japan in the Korean League.
Yeah.
And for both of these teams, it was round 15 out of 16.
Yep.
So the penultimate round for both teams were guaranteed to finish last in their respective groups. So we're not going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
And for Team Japan, all of their previous 14 matches, they lost.
Yeah.
And this was considered to be, basically their only hope of finally winning their elusive first, having their elusive first win.
Yeah.
And for just a quick reminder, each match in the Korean League is 4 games.
Yep.
So teams will pick 4 players to play. And in Taiwan and Japan's case, both teams have a roster of 8 players. So they pick 4 of those 8 players.
Yeah.
And if it ends up, if a team wins 3 or 4 games, then they win the match, obviously. If it ends 2 games apiece, then they go to a 5th game, which is called the ace match.
Yep.
And the teams can pick any player for their ace match, even someone that played in one of the earlier 4 games. And obviously then whichever team wins the ace match wins the entire thing, the entire matchup.
Yeah.
And for Japan, it started very well. Their first board was Sakai Yuki against Taiwan's Zhu Jingchen, and Sakai Yuki won that.
Very nice.
Then Koike Yoshihiro for Japan played against Chen Chirui for Taiwan on board 2, and Koike Yoshihiro got his first win of the entire league in this game.
Yeah.
And so that meant that Japan was ahead 2-0 after 2 games.
Yeah.
So they just needed to win one of the remaining 2 games.
Yeah.
And they would get their first match win. And for board 3, they had their best performing player, Fukuoka Kotaro. However, he was not able to beat Lin Junyan from Taiwan.
Yeah.
So, and then the final one, board 4, Zhang Jinting for Taiwan was up against Hirose Yuichi for Japan, and Zhang Jinting actually won for Taiwan. So after 4 rounds, it was 2 games apiece. It ended up being 2 games apiece.
Yeah. And guys, I remember in the Discord at this stage, people were cheering for Taiwan because they for some perverted reason they really wanted Team Japan to have a 0-win record this season. Taiwan has already won some matches, so it's only Team Japan that's never won anything. So
that's right. Yeah, Taiwan had already won 3 of their previous 14 matches, including the very first match of the entire league.
Yeah.
However, yes, Japan was still on their first one, and after getting ahead 2-0, they couldn't wrap it up. They had to go to an ace match.
Yeah.
And both teams brought out their 7th seed. Yes. Now, but both of them had won earlier in the match.
Yeah.
Japan brought out Sakai Yuki.
Yeah.
Who had won board 1.
Yeah.
Taiwan brought out Zhang Jinting, who won on board 4.
Yeah.
So 2 previous winners earlier in the day.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that Japan didn't bring out Seki Kitaro or Hirata Tomoya, who both are the current title holders in Japan. And Taiwan didn't bring out Zhu Hahong or Wang Wanjun.
Yeah.
Very interesting decision on both teams' parts, but in the end, it was 2 7th seeds.
Yeah.
And a historic moment, Sakai Yuki did it, pulled it off for Team Japan.
Yeah, yeah. Now in the chat, is it Elam? He said, even when Japan was winning 2-0, they were somehow finding a way to lose. Now that's actually not quite correct because, guys, as you mentioned, Japan actually managed to pull through and not finish the season with a duck egg, 0 wins.
That's right. And Sakai Yuki should be considered a hero.
Yep, a hero
in Japan.
Yep.
Yes, he pulled it off, and I had my faith in Sakai Yuki. He's the current rookie king, in Japan. He's clearly he's a very strong-willed player.
Yeah.
Yes. However, Zhang Jinting was also If you saw his face before they started the final, he had his game face on. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
He looked like he was going to murder someone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but in the end, Sakayuki, he did it. He pulled it off, and Japan got not only did they get their win, but they got their winning team image. I'll quickly send you a link.
Yeah.
In our secret chat, so
Yeah.
you can have a look. But every time a team wins,
Yeah.
they show the team win image
Yes.
on the stream.
Yeah.
And this was the first time we got to see the team win image for Japan. There it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Very, very, very interesting.
Sakayuki, by the way, is second from the right in the upper row.
Yeah, that's Sakayuki.
Yeah. And so not only is it historic moment, Japan's first ever win in the Korean League, but Sakayuki is also the first Japanese player to win 2 games in 1 match.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Makes history, but I guess the blemish on that was that they actually had to, do this on Taiwan. Had they done this with a Korean team, I think that is cause for celebration. But it's a less exciting.
Interesting that their first win in the Korean League was not in the end against one of the Korean teams. They still have 1 match left against the Korean team, beautiful Hapcheon.
Yep.
But yes, I don't think they're going to pull that one off. I don't think they're going to win that one.
Yeah.
But they might still be able to do it. So they've still got 1 left.
Yeah. And I have to say, Fukuoka Kotaro, he has some of the most amusing facial expressions and body language when he loses.
He does not have a poker face. That's right.
Yes, I still remember how painful he looked when he lost on time to Won Son Jin. just that I can't describe it. This is Yuki Sakayuki. So yeah, very serious face. And this is it the killer face that you were talking about?
Oh yes.
This is Jen Jinting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but so I think he looked like he was determined. He wanted to do it.
Super determined, yes.
But it just didn't happen. So congrats to Team Japan. Finally got their first win.
And yes, by the way, there is every team has played 15 matches now. There is 1 round left for all teams. And interestingly enough, in each group, the winner of the group has already been decided.
Yeah.
And last place has already been decided.
Yeah.
But the 2nd to 5th spots are all up in the air for both groups. It's very tightly contested. And remember, only 2nd and 3rd, and 1st, of course, make it to the playoffs.
Yes. And Gaza, I can't remember if we had discussed this, but was Shin Jinseo guaranteed to miss out on the playoffs?
No, he's not. Like I said, 2nd to 5th is still up in the air.
Right.
Shin Jinseo's team is currently 5th. But it's going to be difficult for them to qualify. I would say their match, they actually have the very last match left. So they'll probably already know by the time their match is scheduled whether or not they'll even be able to qualify.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess it's a bit sad that the fate's not in their hands, I guess, sometimes.
And you just got to remember, not only is this Shin Jinseo's team, but Shin Jinseo has played out of his mind in this league. He's won 19 games and lost 2. Right. And anyone who does that, you can't say that they haven't done their best to get their team into the playoffs. It'd be very difficult to. He's obviously their team captain, by the way, but it's very difficult to take responsibility for a loss when it wasn't your fault. But you can only do so much in a team event. But we shall see. Like I said, there is a small chance that they can still qualify.
Yeah. But
we'll find out more information in maybe about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. So that will be very interesting. Now, guys, I don't think there's any other topic that we need to cover. So I guess we gotta go to the calendar unless you spring up another surprise.
I do want to say one thing. I haven't
Yep.
updated. I have not yet updated the calendar.
But nothing really is important in the calendar next week anyway. Oh, actually, I take my words back. There's something very important.
Okay, so actually, yes, there isn't much in the way of, I think, Korean domestic stuff. There's the first few days are mainly qualifiers for tournaments, and then on Thursday and Friday there are a couple of GS Caltex Cup games,
Right.
including Shin Jinseo will be playing on Friday against Paekon Suk
Yep.
in the GS Caltex Cup round of 16. So I will add that one to the calendar.
Yep.
But otherwise, yeah, it's very sparse, the Korean domestic scene.
Yep.
Of course, the next 2 days, as we've already mentioned, the Quzhou-Lanke Cup quarterfinals and semifinals
Right.
will be taking place. Yes.
Okay. So gather a little bit of sad news coming out of Korea. I have to say, I just learned of this moment.
Yeah.
So we will have to cover it. It looks like Lee Chang-ho's father had just passed away. His name is Lee Jae-ryong. So obviously very instrumental in helping Lee Chang-ho become who he is, who he is today. He passed away at 65. Of course, the other big figure in Lee Chang-ho's journey towards being the best player, Baduk player in the world was Lee Chang-ho's grandfather, who has passed away quite a few years ago. So so Lee Chang-ho's father also passed away today. So
Yeah.
commiserations. Okay, so back to the calendar. Gaza, you have mentioned all the Korean domestic happenings, but of course the big one next week is Quzhou-Lanke Cup quarterfinal and semifinal happening on Monday and Tuesday, as we have mentioned.
Right.
And Gaza, don't forget. After this, on the Friday, we have the return of the second Hoban Cup, which is massive. Yes.
I must say, I still don't even know who the Korean representatives are.
Right.
But
Yeah. I'm sure it will get mentioned sometime. I think the Hoban Cup is going ahead at the time that I've mentioned. I have no reason to believe that it's been rescheduled. Yeah. So of course the Hoban Cup is a win and continue tournament in the same vein as a Nongshim Cup, but for women players.
yes, we should mention that. Yes, it's like the Nongshim Cup, but exclusively for women.
Yep.
Yes.
I think
five players
five
from
each.
Japan,
Yep.
5 players from China, 5 players from Korea.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what's happened, but it seems to be. Is it even on the calendar? Because I don't seem to see it now on the Korean calendar. Maybe it's been,
Actually, I'm having a look now.
maybe it's been postponed.
Wait,
Because it's
I'm
meant
looking
to.
now. It's
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah, so maybe it's been postponed, Gaza. So, it was to be scheduled on that date, but maybe that's why you haven't found out who the representatives
No,
are.
I don't see it on the calendar at all.
So maybe
I think
maybe
it's
you have to
been-
move it. Maybe you have to move it, Gaza. Let's just move it for
Yes.
now. Yeah. So
We'll get an update on that.
yeah, but just even having just the Chuju Cup is big enough for next week. So looking forward to that. And again, with that, it's time to say goodbye for another episode, Gaza.
Yes, we'll see you next week.